also make sense of this headline. Federal government raises alarm over surge in food importation. That's what the Vanguard newspaper is reporting. Well, you would say, is this a tradition every time of the year, or this is what we should be used to by now?
Actually, when you hear this story, the surge is not just at this time of the year, it is between the year 2019 and 2023, where apparently there's an over 80% surge in food importation. Now, two things came immediately to mind when I heard the story. First of all, on a Friday lighter note, where then they see the money to import 80% more. But to be very serious, you are talking about food importation. We had a policy back then where we had bans at the borders. So if you have this surge in food importation, does it mean that the customs have got higher revenue because everything had to pass through the customs? I don't know whether there have been any recorded increases on the customs side. But food importation takes place, hopefully, in the normal laws of economics. When there is a lack, then people fill in the blanks. So if there is room for food to be imported, it suggests that food production within has actually reduced. And so we go back to the reasons for that. One of them, of course, has been the insecurity. As recently as yesterday, hunters in Borno, about 14 of them, were murdered by terrorists. In days and weeks past, we've heard about other hunters who have been decapitated. There is a lot that is not going right with the agriculture sector in Nigeria, despite the claims of prior government to have given out all sorts of loans. Were those loans properly monitored and all that? Questions. We had one time some pillars of rice, pyramids, of rice that were assembled to make a photo op. Did it translate to cheaper prices of food? And then you have the road situation. You can do production where you are farming, but if you cannot convey that food safely and successfully from the point of production to the point of sale and distribution, you will still have lack. 80% surge is indeed an alarming number, but I'd be really interested in a more granular analysis of what contributes to that. And again, we are talking importation. Is it going on in this era where Forex is so expensive? How on earth is that explained? And these are some of the things.
Fit that also into the figures released by the NBS recently about headline inflation and food. So this also in itself, doesn't it lend credence to the figures that was released, or probably it's just even stating the obvious already?
I think there's a direct connection, if not a causality, because if a certain amount of money is chasing a product, you don't already have enough money in the country and you're chasing external products rather than pushing internal production, I think you can see why there will be increased inflation. Food that is being brought in, I think, is more likely to cost more, which will now contribute to the overall food inflation, food price inflation. So there has to be some connection that experts in economics may be able to explain much better.
Now that links us, before we get to meet Joe this morning, would like you to link up these two stories. They have a connection, which of course an expert is speaking. So you lead us into that paper. And that's from the Punch newspaper, where it is stating that Nigerians bothered about rising food prices, not the budget. And that's quoting or reporting the renowned economist Bismarck Rewane. But so let's walk on through this. So is this really conveying the true feelings of the average man out there on the street?
As the last administration was about to leave, I remember just before the end of May, I observed and I commented on a certain velocity when it came to the reporting of stories with numbers attached. Stories climbed up from millions and millions of naira into billions and billions of naira in increasing sums. And I remember saying, wow, as this former administration is going, they are awarding and signing and, all sorts of things were happening. At that point, it just became every story, one after the other, so and so billion, so and so billion. To be very honest, like Bismarck Rewane is saying, many of those numbers are simply beyond the conception of the average person concerned with their daily activities in front of them, within the context, in many cases, of no electricity, poor transportation, absent healthcare, challenges with paying their children's school fees, etc. So when we hear about, oh, a 30% increase in so and so spent on security, on education, and then you even don't put it side by side with the fact that the currency you are dealing with has depreciated by 40% or more. You hear these stories, the average person has to eat today. I make it akin to the story when they tell you Nigeria is producing 5 mega. We have a magic ceiling under 4 megawatts. We're somewhere around 4 megawatts for 200 and something million people. It's preposterous. There are university hostels abroad that produce the amount of electricity that Nigeria as a country produces. So you keep hearing, we're producing 6 megawatts. We're producing, you know what matters to anybody? If I go to my light switch and I turn on the switch, I want light. It is irrelevant, inconceivable even, to know or care how many megawatts. This is what Bismarck Rewane is saying. We're talking about we're taking a higher budget figure, more deficit, more. The deficit most people can relate with. All economics is pocketbook economics. If there's a deficit in my pocket, that's what matters. And it makes a point. If all this budget will mean something, if in the next 2, 3, 6 months, I can go to the market and state that the bag of rice that is now dragging 70,000 naira is back to 40, 30 or less thousand, and other products. So anything you're saying that is at that macroeconomical level may not resonate with the average Nigerian right now. That's just his point.
Thank you so much, AB Bozimo, for your submission this morning. And there we say good morning to Joseph Obari, as you would lead us to the next paper now. Good morning, Joseph.
Good
Happy New Month.
morning, Mashe. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everybody listening to us. I'm sorry I joined in late. I had some challenges. I'm happy I'm here now.
We had explained to the listener already, so let's unlike you. So let's just pick up this one from the Daily Post newspaper, where it tells us here that 2024 budget. Now we're back to the budget again, bouncing off the back of what AB was speaking about and Bismarck's submission about the budget. But then it goes on from the Daily Post. 2024 budget, El-Rufai asks President Tinubu to implement Orosanye report. We're back to Orosanye's report again. What is there in this report that keeps coming back? Like an unappeased ghost that must be interred properly for it to rest in peace.
It's a very stubborn ghost because it's a ghost that means well. It's a ghost that hopes to shape things for the better for this country. We've seen a huge bureaucracy. I mean, the civil service is overloaded with people. In fact, I'm sorry to say, with due respect to those who are working in the federal civil service and all, there are dead woods in the federal civil service, as some officers have been able to pinpoint. You have people in some government agencies who can't even write letters at the level of directors and so on. So that report, or Russian report, was actually aiming to restructure the federal civil service in such a way that make it more business functional and efficient to be able to serve the need of the public. But what we've seen is a lack of political will by successive administrations to implement that wholeheartedly, that report. So El-Rufai's son, unless he's just trying to play to the gallery, has resurrected that ghost again and on the floor of the National Assembly in course of debating the 2024 budget. And it's simply an appeal because it boggles the mind that the new administration has created more ministries instead of running down more ministers and all that. In some ministries, they are even trying to get the office space for them to function. At a time when we should be cutting down, we are increasing, we are bloating the bureaucracy and all that. So these are concerns because it ties down actually to expenditure. The current budgetary expenditure now is hitting almost 10 trillion competing with seriously with the capital budget. So we spend a lot to sustain people. I mean, in government, in running, in overheads, and so on, instead of putting the money where it really matters. And because if you even go to the MDAs or ministries, department, agencies of government, do you really get value for business transactions with them? Yeah, if you send in a document to any government ministry, somebody is sitting out there not doing anything, it does waste a lot of time. There is no conscious effort that to be business-like in handling matters. So those are the issues. Streamline this whole bureaucracy, that make it fit for purpose and be efficient, and drive a policy that makes sure that government business is run almost like private business.
All right, thank you so much.
That.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that. That means the Orosanye's reports ghost will stay with us for a very long time until we'll look it in the eye and then do what it is asking for it to be interred properly and then get us to where we need to go. We still got one more paper for you to help us speak. We'll get to Ondo shortly, but I need to quickly get onto this line for the listener to be part of the conversation. Feel free to let us know what your reactions will be to the headlines we are serving you this morning on 0809-444-0981 will be where we like to read the WhatsApp message. I see a few lining up already, and I see something coming across the way of AB shortly, someone asking for some clarification. But let's get on to Joe as we get to let's get into Ondo, at least get into Ore. So let's move on. We all know what Ore means to us when we're heading back home. So let's go. So now it means it's from Tribune. It's stating here that impeachment, Ondo Assembly Speaker withdraw case against the Deputy Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. Is there finally a piece somewhere of the grave side of the cemetery in Ondo right now, or what is this all about? Falling off the meeting with the president?
Yeah, I think this just has been the result of the intervention of the president in the crisis in Ondo State, which for me, it just bleeds my heart that it's the person at the center of this is an SAN, a very senior lawyer in this country who knows the law and who has failed to do the right thing. People may not be happy that I'm criticizing a man who is sick, but the point is simply that if you want to do the right thing, you do the right thing. There was no need for Ondo State to be thrown into that crisis if the governor had done the right thing. And the right thing was simply that you're not feeling well, you should trust that your deputy should run the state in your absence. Ondo State was just simply struggling to function because the governor and his group and his family and members and so on feel that they must hold on to power. So what the president has done is simply to broker some level of political solution for the people who couldn't on their own solve the problem. So this withdrawal of the court case is only part of that process and for the first time, I hear that what that's his name, Lucky, the deputy governor, was able to sit to conduct the federal executive, the state executive council meeting for the first time, which is scandalous. I mean, there is no reason why it should happen in the first place. Your governor is sick, the deputy should step in and conduct the affairs of government. There is nothing personal about this. And the constitution structured it in such a way that there should be no vacuum. So to deliberately create a vacuum and heat up the system just because of fear of one person that he is going to lose power is unfortunate. And that is coming from a senior advocate of Nigeria. As a lawyer, I feel terribly embarrassed that that is happening at all. We wish him well. We wish that he recovers, but no business of government should be done in that manner.
Thank you so much, Joe, for the time and for the submission this morning. So we're still seeing messages already coming on 0809-444-0981, reacting to the newspaper headlines this morning. If you're just joining, it's Freshly Pressed, and that's where we reel out all of the local headlines for you and get your reactions in. The analysts would have the say and the interpretation. You would also get your say in, and then all of the details will be there for us to pick up. So let's go over to AB. AB, help us understand this one coming from the Nation newspaper. And it states here, we need 300 billion naira annually for federal road maintenance. And that's FERMA that's the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, is the one speaking about it right now. Talk to us, how much infinity do we get to fix all of this road in this country?
Now, the head of the firma has made that submission, and you have to understand that the cost of a road has two parts: when you construct it and how you maintain it. And that's universal, not just in Nigeria. He is saying that at least 300 billion is required. Now, there is never enough money in most budgeting scenarios to meet all the needs and demands. However, I would expect that as the head of an agency like that, they would identify and prioritize some projects and see that those are key projects that can ease commuting. I'll say in the past couple of weeks, I've traveled across the country, at least between River State, the federal capital, and I use multimodal. I use road and I also use rail. To be frank, maybe because it's a drier part of the year, the roads were not as devastatingly bad as I recall. It could also be partly because of the route that was taken. That said, it always troubles me that, is there something magical about smooth roads? Is there something, interplanetary about having smooth roads? We are always trying to emulate and identify things in other countries. We'll talk about how people in other countries do X, Y, Z. People in other countries have smooth roads. It doesn't mean that they don't have potholes, but they maintain them. So FIRMA is saying they need this sum. I feel, and they also say that less than 50% of the total appropriation has been released so far. So there is also a matter of administration, even for whatever was agreed before. Less than 50% have been released on December 1st, 2023. That seems like a major flaw. When you think of this 300 billion, remember that INEC got 300 and something billion to carry out that interesting process that it did this year. So we have the money, but we have not directed it to where it is. And thinking about it, the roads affect each and every one of us, not even if you're a traveler, but a lot of the goods and services that you get across the country travel on the road. So I think there is a case to be made, and these are only federal roads. Remember, trunk A roads. There are state-related roads that also should be maintained. They are making a persuasive point. I think they have to ram the point home, go to budget presentations and defenses, and then also show a priority ranking of the roads. Let me end on this note. When the horrible floods happened at the end of 2022, we are now at the end of 2023. After the waters receded, the highway between Port Harcourt and parts of Delta State were completely destroyed. At that point, in an interventionist move, the NDDC stepped in to make some road repairs. Since that time, and even after the former president, Buhari, said he gave 90 days for a proposal on how to handle flooding and all that, absolutely nothing has been done to address that road segment. I want to say this right here. It is almost as if there is utter and abject neglect. And that is the east-west road. So it's not a state road. Yes, I believe state governors can intervene because it is their people who suffer. But the responsibility lies with the federal government. And so I would look forward to FIRMA and other related agencies doing their work. We're coming to the dry season. The budget proposal has been submitted by the president. It should quickly be approved, and then they should get to work.
So, Abi, before I let the story go to rest, finally, there's this crucial point where he mentioned that they have only gotten 15%. So there's this issue of the difference between what was budgeted and then what is approved. So how would we even expect Miracle to have smooth road if the funds are not released?
That's my point, that there's an administrative lapse there. If you say it is merely administrative, if you say there's no revenue, then again, you go back to say, what are the priorities? 300 billion is evidently less than what we were told would be saved by 1 month of not paying subsidy. I don't expect the entire money of 1 month to go to the firma, but surely a priority to be made so that a portion of it, a quarter of it, half of it, something should go to farmer, because even in project management, you cannot expend all the money at one day, but at least let there be a stream of money coming so that farmer can plan and carry out their work. We're going to the dry season. This is the time to strike while the iron is hot.
So I will go now to Joe. From the Punch newspaper comes this one. Police suspect insiders behind Ogun finance director's killing. That's what the Ogun State Police Command is reporting, saying, according to the murder and the case that was reported on Wednesday of the finance director of finance in the governor's Biodun's office, Taiwo Oyekomi. Speak to us about this, the legalities of all of this, stating this and against investigation and implication.
My first thought is to the family of the bereaved Taiwo Oyekomi. It's sad that he has to lose his life in course of his duty, but it's a no-brainer to come on and tell us that the police investigation, it's not been concluded, and somebody is telling us they think that this is an insider affair. And so what? What about it? Yeah, even if it was insider, have you arrested the insiders? Do you know who the insiders are? How did you come to the conclusion? And this is very embarrassing police work. There is nowhere you just sit down. This is not soothsaying. We're not soothsaying. You have to do thorough investigation. If there are links, if you think there are people, in fact, normal policing, you shouldn't be saying this thing so that you don't put those suspects on the alert. This is not what you talk about. Okay, insiders from the bank or insiders from the government house or what? Who are the insiders that? It's just, the only reason the police concluded that there was insider because the attackers brought sledgehammer to break. What are you talking about? Every criminal knows that the bullion van is difficult to penetrate, so he could have come with it is premeditated. Of course, it was premeditated. Some criminals knew that money was going to move and they planned it and they attacked. So that doesn't even prove that there is an insider dealing. I'm not saying it is not possible, but it is premature. What you should be dealing with is serious, brute on the ground police work to get to know what actually happened. If there are people who are implicated, how many persons know about the movement of this money? Have you conducted that? Have you questioned those people? Have you brought them in? Who are the people of interest to the police? Before you come out, so policing shouldn't be about trying to gain who goes on the air and say something, we are doing this with the suspect. So what? Who is arrested? So these things are very, very, very sad when you see them. You wonder what kind of training the police people who are doing these things have, that they will be coming on to talk like in this manner.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that. That means probably the police in Ogun State, they spoke too soon. Maybe your fears, they might scare the birds away. They are supposed to just quickly go steadily and get and grab. You want to throw in something quickly, Joe's Abi?
Just to underscore what Joe said, I think that was pathetic and pedestrian piece. Please, there was no insight. There was a crime. Tell us, if you can, what process you are doing, or keep them secret. Solve the problem. I just think the person wanted to be on the news and added no value, frankly, in that statement.
All right. So looks like a good place to go pick up messages waiting on the fringes for us this morning on Freshly Pressed. Now comes Adopsy. It says, anyone that believes the sound bites coming from this administration is just wasting their rope and time. There is no commensurate action to buttress, reflect what they say. They only like to play to the gallery and say what they want you to hear, but will go ahead and do what they want to do. And that's coming from Adopsy. And he says, well, you're speaking to AB, you're just hitting it 100 for him this morning. Then comes Aderemi Rexy from Surulere. He wants to know, AB, your source of the hunter's story, because he's racing down to check for it, and all he could see is just 2020 and 2021. So he would like to follow you up on that. So
There was a source recently on one of Nigeria's media. Hit me up at AB Bozimo after this, and I'll give you the link.
All right, on Instagram. So let's go to JP. JP is waiting, and it comes up. Sadly, most House of Assembly members, that's referring to Ondo State now, are installed by the governor, as they will do the governor's bidding, not the law or the people. Why can't the law be followed by a governor, let alone SAN? It's so sad. But sometimes, Joe, the people around a man, sometimes is the man even conscious about what is really happening? Could he have been taken prisoner by people around him? That's the question again you want to ask.
Your body language, even when you're not incapacitated, will tell people what you want, what you wish. And even while he's having treatment, he has made one or two comments and all that. So there is no how. We have not been told that he's in coma and that he's not communicating with people. I think this is just, he should be held responsible for this.
Thank you. So I go to Dan Okudwa from Igondo. I'll get to you, AB, shortly. And then this one comes in. It says, a serious-minded country will not waste a second to implement the Omatseye report. The federal government does not practice what it preaches. There is so much profligacy, his words, not mine, profligacy across the board on all tiers of government. Dan Okudwa from Igondo. AB, you were going to chime in something.
Yes, to the person who was asking the source of the story. Leadership News and Daily Trust and Premium Times. Go check it out. It's in Taraba State.
Okay, good. So Ajayi Olonilua has a message waiting for us already. It is unfortunate that Ondo State is rendered static just because the ailing governor is not ready to follow the constitution and yield power to his deputy while he recovers. Ajayi Olonilua Magodo GRA Sherry, thank you for the message. I have got this. Fabian is waiting from Ekwe. Welcome. It says, concerning road maintenance, I wonder how the head of FEMA calculated the stated sum required, including the fact that the sum is required annually. They should learn from other nations how to do continuous maintenance rather than wait for years before a major repair. Fabian from Ekbe puts that one across. Then comes Deji. It states here for us to see, when leaders buy good and expensive cars to combat bad roads, why should we be worried about maintenance or repairs? Moving on.
That's a good one.
I get Anthony in here, and it would be our
Excellent.
final message this morning. Tony from Marine Beach has this one to say. It's sad that someone lost his life in the process, but can someone tell me why such bulk withdrawals by the state government? That's referring to, yes, to, you see, that's it now. So you can see
excellent point. Excellent point.
That's what Tony from Marine Beach is raising now from the state, especially by the state government. Why not do transfers if it is not for legal, if it's for legal transactions? There should be a stop to all such acts by the politicians. And that's how we can wrap it up. So we say thank you so much to Tony from Marine Beach. And then, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. AB Bozimo, thank you so much for your time as always.
Thank you for having me. Agree, disagree, want to talk more, hit me up at AB Bozimo on all platforms.
Thank you so much, Joseph Obari, for your time.
Thanks so much, Mashe. Thanks, Evie. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and have a happy weekend, everybody.
And to both gentlemen, I want to say compliments of the season. We're just 24 days before it's Christmas. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great day.
Indeed. I wish you the same, man.
Same to you and all the wonderful listeners.
Yes. Thanks so much to those who sent in their messages. I've got Ajayi Olonilua, Dan Okuda from Igondo. Ayo, I saw your message and for my eyes only. JP, I see you. Adiremi Adeniro. Dopsy, I see your message. Fabian, I also see what you sent in. Anthony Francis, your message also got in here. And that was how we concluded. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa, and that's how we serve you freshly pressed for this morning. Good morning.
Bye.